Alright, we're going. Okay. Alright. We will get started as soon as we can here. Do a streaming ping thing. I need to get that bot set up so that it actually pings when I'm live. Oh well. Where were we? We ended with... What did we end with? Bar buddies? Oh, it's changed your mind. Yeah, that's what it was. I am live, right? Just no one's here. That's fine. We'll get this over with. Hello. Light! How's it going? I know this is... I should have made an announcement about it way earlier, but... finishing up stuff from today real quick. Shouldn't take more than an hour. And then, I got some stuff to work on with Freya Okel interaction. So that's gonna be exciting. Rando. Lucky. Alright, we're gonna get right into this with, Where's the Goat? I'll turn on the music for myself. Alright, did we... I don't think we read this yet. Hi, Truffle. It's strange how this has all turned out. Crash landing on a foreign planet just to be saved by a satyr, locked in a cage in her underground lab, and forced to work with her in exchange for freedom. At first, Car believed that she was going insane. She rationalized that maybe she was dead and this was somehow the afterlife. However, after slowly recovering from her wounds, Car realized it was all real. This is actually happening. Microwave Okel? Maybe. Truly, the last month has been bizarre. Lucky, the goat thing that saved her, had finally let Car out of the cell yesterday after Car had aided in completing Lucky's serum. When Lucky left to deliver the serum to whoever Freya is, Car took it upon herself to venture out to gather wood to build her own home. After all, Car did build houses on her home planet. She gathers a hefty amount of mangrove logs and piles the bundles onto a sled before setting off for the cabin she shares with Lucky. Unfortunately, she has gotten caught in a snowstorm while returning from her venture. Car curses under her breath as she drags her feet through the heavy snow, gripping the rope attached to the sled slightly. This better be enough goddamn wood. She merges onto the path leading up to Lucky's small home and picks up the pace. Car reaches the front steps and drops the rope, leaving the wood out in the storm. She quickly makes her way inside of the cabin and warms up by the fireplace. Lucky, are you back yet? Car calls out, straining her ears for any hint of sound disturbing the relative silence of the cabin. When there's no response, Car shrugs and begins to change into fresh clothes, as her old ones are now soaking wet. After laying her clothes out to dry by the fireplace, Car kicks back on Lucky's bed. She sighs out. She'll be back eventually. And she closes her eyes and settles in for her first full night on this planet not inside of a cage or concussed. 2 days later. Car sighs as she slumps down at her handmade table. Finally, after 2 days of labor, Car has completed her humble abode. She's built her home high up in the trees the same way that the people from her planet did. Now she sits at her table watching the stars in the sky as she eats freshly cooked pork chops. She sits in the comfortable silence. Her mind wanders. Lucky still hasn't returned. Car placates the tinge of worry that rises within her, and with the reasoning that she must have gotten caught up at the hospital. Maybe she needed to tweak the serum and didn't have enough time to return to the lab. That night, Kara lies awake running through all the possibilities. Despite her attempts to calm herself, she cannot shake the feeling that something horrible has happened. What if Lucky was attacked? What if she got hurt? What if she got lost? What kind of friend would Kara be if she left Lucky out there to die? Friend? Is that what she is? Do friends lock each other in cages? Do friends force each other to aid them in experiments? No, they don't. Lucky wouldn't care if Kara died, so Kara shouldn't care about Lucky. After this epiphany, Kara rolls over and lets out a frustrated huff. Forget the stupid satyr. Whatever it is. I've only ever read this word. I've never said it out loud. Deep-fried warden? Sounds tasty. Actually, no, it doesn't. Soon after, she falls deep into sleep, trying to erase Lucky from her memory. What is this, where you, like... It's not where you, like, fall in love with your captor, but... This is from Lucky. Lab talk. 1, 2, 3. For 7 hours, Lucky tossed and turned in her hospital bed, played with the phone a couple of times, and even got a small visit from some unexpected visitors who kindly brought her mice on request. It's about 1800 now, as Lucky lets her mice roam in the hospital room until a small click of the door startles her a bit. Do you mind knocking? If I'm going to be stuck in here, I'd like privacy. Lucky huffed out, sitting up slowly in her bed. Sorry to bother you, I'm just doing my routine checkups. Do you still feel pain in your shoulder? Magos motions to the obvious wound. Well, I think it'd be pretty obvious that having my shoulder impaled by a spike would cause pain for a while. She fidgeted with her hands a bit, letting out a sigh, her voice changing from bratty to a more defeated tone. I apologize. This whole being stuck here thing has me on edge, so to say. No need for an apology, but I must ask this one thing. What were you doing out there by yourself? As you know, we now have a curfew, unfortunately. Magos had kept the fact that he was out past curfew as well. I was making a delivery, an important one at that. She paused, looking around. Actually, where's my bag? Your bag was put into hospital storage. Scarabs would open the door with the bag on top of them. And now it's in this room. I did search through it. What does the serum inside do? Lucky quickly snatched the bag, rummaging through it and making sure everything was still safe. It's for injuries. It provides a sedative while also accelerating the healing process, hopefully shortening the amount of patients you get in here. Magos stopped for a second and thought about something. Will it be able to help with the illnesses? I'm not quite sure yet. I've been restricted to testing on my mice being only able to observe the serum's ability with small cuts and injuries. How about this? What if I grant you the resources in order to upgrade this little project of yours and return you help with me with something of mine? Magos' tone was dead serious. Lucky sat there contemplating for a moment. On one hand, she barely knew this guy. On the other hand, he definitely had more advanced resources than she could imagine. Okay, but it depends on what you need. I have morals. I need your help to cure an illness that has afflicted my people for centuries. I believe your project can cure it. Very well, then. You can have some of what I create in exchange for you helping provide the resources I need. Lucky was quiet a moment, trying to think of what else she could ask from him. Maybe you could assist in the process sometimes as well? I find these terms acceptable. My lab will be the best place for this to be completed. I also don't want to move the sample in case of the risk of it breaking containment. The scarabs moved away from the door as if preparing for something. Lucky shivered a bit watching the bugs move away. You have quite interesting assistants, pets, whatever they are, to you. I find it odd. A metallic scarab crawled onto Magos' hand. They were a gift from my wife. I would also question you about having organic rats, but this planet has taught me much. Light blue hexagons filled the doorway, their blue glow giving away to that of a portal. Now come along, we have much to do. Lucky quickly shook off the shock of this portal upon her before slowly standing to hooves and walking over. You realize how creepy this is, right? No, my people do not care for how creepy something is as long as it's effective. Magos said, that explains a lot! Magos had walked through the portal, his scarabs following behind. Right, of course. Hesitantly, Lucky scoops up her mice from the floor and follows Magos through the portal. On the other side of the portal... Also, Magos... Bagel's setting up that, oh, well, Magos can just use a portal to teleport wherever and go to the... I guess he has to have the scarabs or whatever. Guarantee you, the second he goes into jail, a scarab is gonna sneak into his cell and give him a portal to go to his ship, and he flies away from Solace. Predicting it here, folks. On the other side of the portal is a hallway of a ship. Black hallways with blue lights lead on for what seem like miles. Welcome to my ship, the Collector. She's been with me for centuries. I can assure you once you know your way around, it does get smaller. There's also a wonderful museum here and cryopods. Under no circumstance do you open the pods. Magos turned the corner and walked into his lab. Lucky followed him in awe at everything from the interior to the advanced equipment she had only ever heard of in books. Turning the corner to his lab, her face lit up as she rushed to the counters, admiring everything. This is incredible. I can't believe we haven't talked before. Everybody wants help from a doctor, but they never stick around to chat. Magos began pushing buttons on a hologram and a stasis field carrying a head game into the chamber. This is why I want violence in SUNC. The normal prison is just a freaking basement. Yeah. No, I think, maybe I should have Freya... Considering, okay, like, that's a good point. Once Magos is actually, like, convicted and everything, if that, maybe the jury will decide otherwise, who knows. If Magos goes to prison, I'll have Freya talk to Waters and be like, look, you could, you know about, like, Elia and stuff. I don't know, she doesn't know about Gatsby or whatever, but, like, is there a way that we can contain these beings? So it'll work. I apologize for the sample that had been the only one I had obtained from when another ship crashed here. This is the Rustwalker Plague. I have to have it in 0G, stasis chamber, because it can spread to organic and metal materials, and yes, my lab is pretty cool. Lucky should be jury and pretend she doesn't know him? No way. No way. I don't mind this at all. I can't believe you've been able to keep it in such great condition. Lucky examined the head, tilting her own from side to side, being in awe. So, if it has to be in the chamber, how do you expect to study and test? Well, during my experiments, I determined that this virus cannot spread into any that doesn't decay or corrode. Heat and frost may also halt. The only reason I am like me at the moment was because I almost got burned up in the atmosphere. This is also the reason why I do not want you in the cryopod area. I will send you more files about it soon. I just need to grab some equipment for you. Magos hit another button on the hologram and a small robot rolled in it, holding safety equipment and an energy gun. This is Steve. Wait, I have a... Hold on. Hold on.
I am Steve.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know I was ever going to be able to use that. Whenever you need the portal, he will open it, and the gun is for defensive purposes. Hold the trigger for a bigger boom. Chicken jockey! I don't have...
Flint and Steve.
Okay. These are such old soundboards. These are like the beginning of the year, last year. Okay. Hold the trigger for a bigger boom. Oh wow, that's an interesting name for a little robot. Lucky knelt down and poking him a bit. So you send me files, I make you serums, and we work together? She stands up once more before turning to him. I think this partnership will be great for both of us. Indeed, I will help where I can, and when I am not putting the ship or people back together. You're welcome to explore my ship. Also, call me Solvex. I do not know why this planet is so obsessed in calling me by my family name. Isn't his first name Magos? Also, I don't think he's ever introduced himself as Dr. Solvex.
Lizard.
Of course, I'll call you whatever you'd like, and with how much you've done for me already. I owe you a ton, so whatever you need, I got you. She smiled at him, glad to have a new buddy to talk to. Well then, if we're done here for now, I would really like to lie back down. My body is killing me. Another portal opened up. You can go now. But the conversation ended, Lucky walks on through the portal back to her hospital room. She sits herself back down on the bed with a content sigh before moving her rats out from on her shoulder and placing them beside her. I think Solvex and I are going to change things for the better. His first name is Doctor. Alright, from Light, preparations. Oh yeah, be prepared for the hurricane tonight, guys. I think it's already happening. Light read and reread the readings of the hurricane to come. It was getting bad very fast, just like the tornado had been. She shook her head, banishing that thought out of her head. She was sure that there was a reasonable explanation for this. Maybe there wasn't enough dust from the desert in the air. Maybe it was in between El Reno and La Nina. Does Solace have Does Solace have that? Anyway, maybe the oceans were warmer than usual. But the readings did not lie. There was enough sand that would shred a normal storm. La Nina was firmly in place, and the oceans were cold. It wasn't even the right season for a hurricane. Hurricanes usually form in summer to early fall, with warm oceans and a whole lot less dust from deserts. But Solace... Gods above, she murmured as she rubbed her forehead. Why is Solace so cursed and weird? Light sighed and placed the report down onto her desk. She briskly walked to her room to grab her medical bag and looked through it. More bandages, new needles, burn salves, healing potions, more cleaning alcohol. Definitely needs supplies for on-field stents in case someone breaks a bone. She certainly needed to brew water-breathing potions in case someone is trapped in a flooding room, to buy them time while rescue workers can extract them. Light chewed her nail. The Moon-touched kingdom was her main worry. It would be directly hit if the models were anything to go by. They were still subject to change in the coming days. But even the predictions showed that the path wouldn't change much, if at all. It would also hit bits of Kindlegrim. She worried about Kron. She didn't know where they were, if their home was in the path of this storm at all. She hadn't gotten the chance to go looking for them. After breakfast the day she came back, she spent the day with Waters, and most of what was spent sleeping for the both of them. Even now, she was tired. Not sleepy tired, but bone-aching tiredness. It was an after-effect being revived, she knew. She shook her head, her thoughts drifting to her house in the Moon-touched kingdom. Her home had long been warded from intruders, a ward that had lingered even after she had died. But to protect it from the weather, that was another matter entirely. Light couldn't ward against a storm like a hurricane. It had more power than any spell she knew. She was sure it could shatter any ward against the storms she could conjure up. Light sighed softly and shook her head. She'd need to pay her home a visit during the storm to make sure it stayed safe. It was a risk, but she could at least do her best to protect her home and her things. That is, if Dad doesn't make me stay any closer to more populated areas, she muttered, her ears pinning back. She didn't want to be protected or stay somewhere safer when people are in danger. Light sighed softly and focused herself on the task of adding to her medical bag. She had just finished the last of her tasks when she heard heavy footsteps. She looked up from her bag and saw Waters. He was looking between her and her bag. "You intend to be out in the storm," he said, framing it as a statement rather than asking. Light nodded. She never intended to hide that from her dad. "Yes, I am," she said, remaining calm. "I never intended to remain inside and stay safe while others are out there in danger." Waters sighed and walked to his desk, shuffling through papers. "And where exactly do you intend to be?" he asked after a moment of silence. "Near the Moon-touched kingdom," Light answered, watching as Waters took a sharp breath. She looked down and shuffled through her medical bag, checking once again if she was missing anything. "It's the hardest hit area and one of my homes. I intend to—" "No." Light's ears pinned back at her dad's sharp tone. She looked up from her bag and towards Waters. "Dad, I mean it, Light. I'll be in the area," he said, cutting her off. "I will get people to evacuate and make sure your home is shuttered and sandbagged, and I'll be setting up equipment to gather data on this storm." Worry seemed to fade from Light's chest, though she still worried about Waters' safety. "Will you be all right out there?" she asked softly as she focused back on ruffling through her bag. She felt her dad's gaze linger on her. She looked up at Waters when she heard his footsteps come closer to her. He stopped a few feet away. "I'll be all right," he said calmly, seemingly trying to reassure Light. She wanted to believe her dad, she truly did. But she was still worried. She knew that the Moon-touched kingdom wasn't a target of Eclipse. She knew that Elia was dead, but she also knew how bad this storm was going to be. She knew that the hurricane had a chance to spawn tornadoes as it went over the area. Light turned and hugged Waters. She felt Waters hesitate before he returned the hug. Just promise me that you will get out of harm's way before the storm hits," she said softly, her tail curling around her feet. She felt her dad squeeze her briefly. She had returned the squeeze, minding her strength. "I promise, Light," Waters said, pulling away a bit. He placed his hands on her shoulders. "You can check my comms location to see if you want." Light nodded, feeling better. "All right," she said softly. "Thank you, Dad." She took a deep breath and turned away to focus on her bag. "I'll stay near Lilac Expeditions then," she said, busying herself with checking her bag again. She was checking her bag, checking it twice. Santa Claus. She wanted to confirm that she had everything ready. "All right, notify me that you are there and safe when you arrive," Waters said, walking back to his desk. "I will, promise." Something tells me you are not going to let them just be happy father-daughter. He used his goo? We're not anybody using their goo today? I didn't even see that. Alright, we read Bob's thing, Zenithra. It was still cold out. Not as much snow on the ground anymore, but the air... Okay, wait. Yeah, no, we didn't watch this yet. But they are still a bit exposed skin with icy teeth. Oh, bit at exposed skin with icy teeth. Zenithra hugged their thin jacket closer to their small frame, their breath puffing out in little white clouds. The child was running out of food. The last of the stale crackers had been finished yesterday morning, and their stomach growled loudly in protest. They didn't want him to take control of them again. Not after last time. Not after what happened to that poor doggy. The memory made Zenithra's chest tighten with guilt and fear. Zenithra decided to try and find the place that Truffle had taken them that one time, months ago, when things had been different. The place that had had the item called ice cream. It was a good, cold dessert that tasted amazing, sweet and creamy and unlike anything they'd ever had before. The memory of it made their mouth water. Oh, how they could go for some right now. Their stomach rumbled again in agreement. Zenithra walked through the blurry outcast of the world, their vision never quite clear, always slightly out of focus. They followed a path that felt familiar, relying on instinct and memory more than sight. The smells, the sounds, and the wonderful feeling of it made them know that they were on the right track to the tavern. They remembered the warm scent of cooking food, the sound of laughter and clinking glasses, the way the building had felt safe and welcoming. Once they arrived, squinting up at the familiar shape of the building, they tried to open the door. It didn't budge. They pulled harder, their small hands slipping on the cold metal handle. Locked. Zenithra's heart sank, but they didn't give up. They sat there trying to open the door, jiggling the hand over and over. They walked around the building twice, checking for windows low enough to reach, for other doors, for any way in at all. They tried everything they could think of for almost 2 hours, their fingers growing numb with cold, their hope slowly fading with each failed attempt. We're getting our child taken away by CPS. This is... Kid? What are you doing out here? A voice asked behind them, making them jump so hard they nearly fell over. Zenithra spun around, heart pounding, ready to run if they needed to. They looked up to see an adult of some kind. Tall, their features blurry like everyone else, but their voice was gentle. The child recognized their voice vaguely from the meetings they had been trying to secretly attend, hiding in corners and listening to the grown-ups talk about important things they didn't fully understand. It's almost past curfew. Let me take you to my house before it gets too late. Oh, wait, do you have a name? The adult's voice was concerned, not angry, which was a relief. Zenithra hesitated for a moment, studying the blurry figure before them. Something about this person's presence made them feel calm? Safe? They hadn't felt that since before the deal with Ambush. And before everything had gone so terribly wrong. Slow, cautiously, they walked up closer to the adult. Zenithra, that's my name, they said quietly, their voice small and tired. The person let out a sharp gasp as they said that, and Zenithra flinched slightly at the sudden sound. Zenithra? The adult's voice was filled with shock and concern. What are you doing out here alone? Aren't you supposed to be in the hospital or with Truffle? Zenithra stood there, shocked, yet not entirely unprepared. The realization hit them like a punch to the gut. Truffle hadn't told anyone they were missing. Truffle didn't care that they were missing. The thought hurt more than the cold, more than the hunger gnawing at their belly. They had been gone for days and no one had even noticed. No one had come looking for them. Oh, I should tell you my name. It's Lux. I volunteered with Truffle to watch over you, but then some stuff happened. They were talking about the hospital, Zenithra realized. The child remembered the overstimulating room with 2 bright lights that hurt even their blurry eyes, with beeping machines and the scratchy cotton blanket that felt awful against their skin. They hated it there. Everything had been too much. Too loud, too bright, too scratchy. They also remembered that name now, Lux. They'd heard Truffle talking about a babysitter beforehand, discussing arrangements with someone on the phone, but Zenithra hadn't really cared for it at the time. They hadn't wanted a babysitter. They'd wanted Truffle to stay with them. But right now, none of that mattered. Right now, all they had to worry about was food and shelter. Their stomach growled again, loud enough that Lux probably heard it. Zenithra felt their face grow warm with embarrassment despite the cold. Can I go home with you for a bit? I'm hungry and tired, Zenithra asked, their voice barely above a whisper. They hated asking for help, hated feeling so small and helpless, but they didn't know what else to do. Lux is the goat, it's so true. Sure, Zenithra. Come on, I'll take care of you for a little bit, Lux said gently, reaching out a hand. Zenithra looked at the offered hand for a long moment, then slowly, carefully placed their small, cold hand in Lux's warm one. For the first time in days, they felt like maybe things might be okay, at least for one night. Lux, my goat. Alright, we watched the POV thing. We did not watch this. Hunting Song Redo.
And one of the hunters wasn't insured. People ask me how I do it, and I say there's nothing to it. You just stand there looking cute, and when something moves, you shoot. And there's 10 stuffed heads in my trophy room right now. 2 game wardens, 7 hunters, and a cow. Yes, the law was very...
What is this? Alright. I made this for the ball. I know this 5 weeks ago. I'm a slow writer. Alright. A rather unfortunate. We have a PDF. Let's go. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. December 8, 1:42 a.m. Links. Hey, Sam, wake up. Command set alarm 1:49 a.m. 1:52 a.m. User 1. What the hell do you want now? There's a ball event tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. That's great. Not going. Oh, come on. I thought you loved winter and Christmas events. Too many people. Too many incidents happening back to back with other events. And aren't those events celebrated by couples? Oh, ye of little faith. Lighten up, will ya? I'm sure nothing bad will happen at the event. 'Tis the Christmas season. Only a real Grinch would do something there. Plus, it's not required to bring someone with you to the ball. You're not going to get crucified for it. Just thought it'd be nice. You've been awfully tense for the past year. I wonder why. Listen, people we both know are going to be there. Besides, if you choose not to go, I still have access to the monitor fused to your head. I'll just take control of that and force you to come. Fine. I think I have some leftover totems I can bring. There we go. You won't regret this, I promise. Chapter 1, The Ball. Why does the human look like Truffle? That's crazy. What could possibly go wrong? Quite a bit. December 9, 2497, 8:32 a.m. Sam would exit his watchtower. Okay, this is fine. No one will notice you there. Just stay far away from everyone else and you'll be fine, he'd say to himself, trying to calm his nerves. He never enjoyed going to public events, always felt paranoid and lost in areas with large amounts of people. 7:32 p.m. After a long trip, it would grow dark as the sun set and the moon rose. Something didn't feel right tonight, but maybe it was just his paranoia and past experiences with incidents always happening at public events he went to. He would arrive at the ball, the rather large building taking on a rather warm and cheery atmosphere, a stark contrast from the cold and dark outside environment. Sam would take a deep breath before exhaling as he went inside. The inside of the building was rather nice, calm, slow music filling the air as people talked and danced, giving off a friendly, inviting feeling. Almost too friendly. He would pass the guards, or lack thereof. Oh my god. It's not copper statues. There were 2 actual guards. Everyone keeps saying it was the copper statues. Not everything in game is canon to what happens in the story. I'm sorry. I didn't want to have 2 of the staff members miss out and just have to stand there all night. But no, this is not canon. There were actual guards there. They were checking people. That's why Eclipse couldn't come inside. She had to go give Nikta the thing outside, because Nikta was on the list. She was not. Anyway. He made his way to an area where not many people were, not paying much mind to the others gathering, celebrating, drinking, and overall having a good time. He'd be watching everyone sitting at a table, the welcoming environment actually letting him feel relaxed. He'd close his eyes for a moment, feeling a bit tired, when he felt a cold metallic hand placed on his shoulder, making him jolt up, grabbing a glass and turning around, only to be met with screen displaying a creepy smile he had grown to despise. You, he'd say with a rather annoyed tone of voice. Now that ain't no way to greet a friend, is it now? We're not friends. Do that again and I swear I'll... Jeez, don't lose your head. He'd interrupt, letting out a short laugh, either not taking Sam's first statement seriously or choosing to ignore it. How's the ball treating you? Fine. Sam would slowly sit back down in the chair, now fully awake, slightly on edge. Good to hear. Nice to see you face to face after all this time. He'd hold his hand out to Sam. Sam would stare at his hand for a moment before looking back up at Lynx, refusing to shake it. Can't say the same. Right. After a moment, his hand would awkwardly go back to his side. I'm gonna go back over to Vire. Have fun. Sure. He'd watch Lynx walk away as he let out a small sigh of relief and annoyance. 1 minute before the explosion. Sam would look around. There was a slight sense of impending doom in the back of his head, something telling him to get out. However, he would brush it off. He had been paranoid all day, yet nothing bad had happened. Bored, he would get up to get a drink from the bar to see if he could get anything that didn't contain alcohol to ease his nerves. Don't ask how he eats or drinks with a monitor fused to his head, he just does. A blinding, sudden flash of light from the center of the room would erupt, followed by a loud boom, sending Sam back, hitting the ground, disoriented with a ringing in his ears. There would be smoke and fire everywhere, the muffled sound of shouts and screaming in the back. He would get onto his knees, grabbing onto a nearby table to force himself up. Every part of his body hurt, as if he fell down a flight of stairs, a numbing pain and strange feeling in parts of his body as if they weren't there anymore. He would be breathing shakily, looking around at the chaos which was now in the ballroom. He would slowly reach into his pocket as he manages to take out a totem of Undying with his left hand, which was now missing 2 fingers and a half. As the ringing went away, he could hear a creaking and crackling sound above him. He would look up just in time to see a wooden support beam from the ceiling fall. After a sickening crack, everything went black. Chapter 2. There's chapters! Simulated limbo. Simulation loading. Sit back and relax in this lovely world as you await your return to reality. He wakes in an unfamiliar, desolate city, the ground covered in wires and circuitry which seemed to span on indefinitely along with the city. It was night, and everything was illuminated by an unseen light representing moonlight, despite black, starless sky. He would find his body was not his own, but replaced with a black, shadowy form, finding himself unable to speak as well. With no idea of where he was, he would forward. After walking for an uncertain amount of time through this landscape, he'd see a monocular scope, spyglass, on the ground, not far from him, making his way over to it. He'd reach the spyglass, going to pick it up as his foot catches on a tripwire, which led to a small bell that let out a ringing sound. Sam would pick up the spyglass before looking at the bell as a loud rumbling coming from underneath the ground started as something large begins protruding from the ground, forming a large crack in the ground as the sound of creaking wood became more apparent as more cracks formed in the ground everywhere. Oh, please put some commas in here. Everywhere, spruce trees slowly coming through them. Farther away from him, a large structure in the form of a twisted watchtower, made from pale oak and spruce, emerged from the ground from the larger crack, dragging the wires up with it as its circuitry fell from tower. The tower would come to a halt as the rumbling stopped, only the faint sound of warping wood. Please put commas! Please, I beg you! Being heard was now standing at 120 feet. A spotlight on the tower would flash on, emitting a bright light on him, momentarily blinding him as he raises an arm above his head. His eyes adjusting to the sudden change in light, coming from the watchtower would be walking that echoed through the forest. Using the spyglass, he looked closer at the top of the watchtower, and from the faint lights of the tower, he could see a figure stumbling to the spotlight, where, as he made out the figure, his eyes widened in horror, realizing what it was. It was him, only that it was missing its head, had several chunks and pieces of its body missing, and its clothes were stained with blood, and small parts of it on fire. It would raise a crossbow towards him as he dropped the spyglass, finding cover behind a tree just in time as a bolt flew past him, embedding itself into the tree in front of him. His heartbeat starting to rise. From the sides of the tree, he could see the spotlight moving to the tree he was behind. He'd look around, desperate for a way out, but was only met with the same forest and city that seemed to go on forever. He would try to get the next tree, but the moment he came into view, another bolt would zip right past in front of his face, causing him to fall back as he got up running for a few seconds, before going behind another tree, to the spotlight following. He would look around, searching for any way out of this situation he was in, to no avail, only finding more forest and city and stretched on forever. Just as there seemed to be no way out of the situation, a loud distorted sound that sounded like stone striking against metal roared throughout the forest, as a faint white light with an orange gradient in the shape of a door around a few miles away appeared, the spotlight turning off, making him wonder if he was safe. He would cautiously, slowly stick his arm out before coming out from behind the tree, noticing the figure at the tower was gone. He would let out a sigh of relief as he started walking his way towards the light. 2 minutes later, he would hear an odd sound fly past above him. He would look up, not seeing anything as it flew past him again. After a moment of silence, he would hear a loud screech similar to that of a phantom. He would look towards the source of the noise, only to see the corpse hanging onto a rotted version of a phantom headed right at him, the corpse letting go and lunging at Sam, knocking them both to the ground. The corpse was wielding a knife, trying to stab Sam with it. After some struggling, Sam would manage to disarm the corpse, stabbing it with its own knife, making the corpse let out a disturbing pain gurgling sound, getting up and stumbling away from Sam, shaking violently. Sam would quickly get up, backing away from it as the corpse tears the knife out from its shoulder, the knife stained with greenish-black blood, before quickly carving a symbol into the tree, before stabbing the knife into the center as the forest rumbled, making creaking and snapping noises before an arm came out of the ground, grabbing onto Sam's legs, making Sam fall as he kicks it away, getting up and stumbling a bit before running as more distorted-looking corpses of Sam started coming from the ground, and trees wielding different tools and weapons, and some wielded nothing. simply trying to grab him, narrowly avoiding one with long arms that lunged at him. Sam ran through the forest, trying to avoid them, seeing a corpse with disproportionately long legs blocking his path up ahead. Sam would spot a corpse with a longer right arm that hadn't been able to get out of that tree, halfway stuck inside, holding an iron axe. Sam would run over, prying the iron axe out of the corpse's grip as another corpse behind him swings a sword, missing completely, getting it stuck in the other corpse stuck in the tree. Sam would use this opportunity to swing the axe into the corpse's torso, getting caught for a moment before kicking the corpse to rip the axe out, steadying himself for a moment before continuing to run. Another corpse would come from the ground, grabbing onto his legs, making a raspy, gurgled, hissing sound with Sam swinging the axe down at his arm, getting caught for a moment as more greenish-black blood spills out, pulling it out before swinging again, cutting the arm off with a second swing as he kicks the other arm, getting himself free as he continues to run, breathing rapidly. The taller corpse would try blocking him, lunging for him. Sam would avoid its arms, going around and swinging the axe into its leg before swinging again and cutting it in half, Sam running past it. He could hear the sounds of raspy growls and hissing getting louder from the corpses as he gets closer to the door-shaped light, as he continues trying to avoid getting hit or caught by them, his heart beating rapidly. The door would be getting in reach as he reaches his hand out to it as another corpse fires a bolt from a crossbow at him. Chapter 3, Burned Silk and Wood. Sometimes you really ought to stay home. Sam would jolt up, gasping for air, shaking slightly. He would look around at the hell that erupted in the ballroom. It was hard to believe no time had passed, despite having spent around 9 hours in that place. He'd look at himself, checking to see if he was missing any parts of his body. After confirming he was intact, he would let out a shaky sigh of relief. What the hell just happened? He would look to his right, spotting the pillar that fell on him as the pool of blood where his head was, staring at it for a moment, unable to accept that it was his blood under that pillar. In that moment, he would hear a sudden voice behind him, causing him to flinch. Boo! Damn it, stop doing that, you bloody excuse for binary. Lynx would laugh a bit. Come on, lighten up, will ya? Lighten up? Sam would interrupt. Look around. Does this look like a laughing matter? I mean, not really, no. But you do have to admit, it is a tad funny. I mean, like, events like these have been happening back to back. I honestly was sort of expecting something like this to happen. Expecting? You were expecting for this to happen? Are you mad? Sam would interrupt again, standing up. You seriously came here knowing nothing was going to happen and did nothing about it? You brought me here knowing something was going to happen? What is wrong with you? Geez, calm down. You act like I've done this before. Because you have. Multiple times before. You took control of my body for weeks, sometimes months on end, against my will last year. You made a cure that half worked and disappeared, abandoning me and Alfie, who died, but not before nearly risking my life while leaving. Well, I mean... Sam would cut him off. I'm not done. Even till this day, you still continue with these antics. You still can take control of me for a few days every couple of months. You gave away my address to some identical copy of you who now won't leave me the hell alone, consistently placing head rituals everywhere at my house, and scaring the hell out of me. And you constantly come into my house and steal my materials, my personal belongings, and that's not counting what you've done to other people. You're by far the most ignorant, psychotic, soulless, inconsiderate, reckless, and heartless individual I have ever had the displeasure of ever meeting, and that says a lot because I have met some pretty horrible people. And the fact that you somehow managed to gain sentience is baffling because the concept that someone of the likes of you can feel is an insult and a joke to any sentient being that exists. And even after you left and almost got me and Alfie killed, they still thought you were a friend, thinking that there was some good in you, which I don't understand because after everything I've seen you do then and now, I see that whatever good you had, even if you had any to begin with, died with you gaining sentience. Sam paused for a moment. Only, of course, you don't care, right? Because everything and everyone is a damn joke to you because you didn't have feelings nor emotions then, and you sure as hell don't have any now. When you left, I was genuinely hoping you didn't come back because things would be so much better if you just stayed gone. Lynx would blankly stare at him, not smiling for a moment before snickering, letting out a stifled laugh before starting to laugh hysterically, confusing Sam. Are you seriously laughing? You're seriously laughing? Why can't you take anything seriously, damn it? Sam would grab him by the collar. For one moment, can you not be so fucking heartless? Lynx, however, would continue laughing, which would frustrate Sam. Stop laughing! I said stop laughing, damn it! Just then, Sam would feel a sudden but firm tug on his sleeve. He'd look over to see a familiar face. Well, a familiar mask, yelling at both him and Lynx in a language he didn't quite understand. It was Kron. Move! Move, move, move! Croy said to get people out, I get you out! Kron would say in English, stamping their hoofed feet against the floor after yelling, almost throwing him off balance. Kron's insistent tugging and shouting would work, convincing Sam and Lynx that they needed to move as they finally started moving in the direction they were being insistently pulled towards. As they moved, Sam would look around, seeing just how bad everything had gotten. Everything was on fire, there was rubble and debris everywhere, and there were people. Some were trying to find their way out, while others were, well, not quite breathing. However, the most surprising sight was yet to happen as a loud crash was heard, making both Sam and Kron flinch, Link simply looking over before the sound of Croy's voice echoed over the destruction. Kron, look to your left! Kron took a second, then turned, their breath hitching at the sight as Sam looked over, tensing at the sight. Link simply just did nothing but stared. Croy was standing atop a pile of rubble, their backs slightly arched as tar twisted and slithered through the air, spreading out across the ceiling, keeping it from collapsing entirely. The black tar was all exiting from Croy's chest and eye, their body trembling with the intensity, but they held firm. Sam would stare into disbelief for a moment before looking around to see if he could find a way out, just to find Link's was gone. He didn't worry, however. It was a computer virus piloting a stolen android. He'd be fine. Further to the left, there was an opening in the wall that Kron noticed shortly before Sam did. It was small, but it was sure as hell a lot safer than the other routes held open by pillars of more ghostly tar. I will hold it open until all are safely out. Go! Kron understood, turning their head back off to encourage the two to follow again, only to find Lynx was gone, having gone off to who knows where. Kron let out a loud, frustrated curse, grabbing hold of Sam's wrist and beginning to run backwards to encourage him to follow. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Sam found himself staring at the tar-covered ceiling in shock for a moment before looking down, which allowed Kron to turn and face the exit, running towards it before crawling through and toppling onto the ashy grass outside. The cold night air contrasting sharply to the heat on their back as they both quickly got up. Sam would look around at the large number of people outside that gathered like a flock of disturbed pigeons, panic and anger swarming them all like a plague. Paths of blood infested the ground, cries and shocked faces and others stumbling out of the flames of the building. Some were rolling around to extinguish the fire that burnt their skin. Sam looked over at the building that once stood tall and welcoming, now on fire crumbling before his eyes. He would be pulled by Kron, who was walking towards the other people, before letting go of him. Sam would get a dozen questions in his head as he slowly looked to face Kron. Kron? What are you? Go heal and rest, Kron interrupted as they spun on their heel and dove back through the opening. Sam would stare blankly at the opening for a moment, the thought of going back inside passing his mind before he turned around and headed home. Everything around him seemed to blur as he started to feel disconnected from reality as he walked home, his mind replaying moments of his death and the hell that erupted in the ballroom in such short amount of time in his head over and over. Unable to get the sounds of screams out of his head, blindly following a compass he had lodestoned to his house. After an unknown amount of time, he would arrive home, looking up at the tower that gave him memories he was too tired to think about as he walked up the stairs. After arriving at the top, he would close the door behind him, looking around at the dim atmosphere. It was quiet, the kind of quiet no one would hear after an argument or coming back home. One would hear after an argument or coming back home from a funeral. He would close the door before walking over and laying down in his bed, staring up at the ceiling. His cat Simon, who he hadn't even noticed come up to him when he came back, would jump up on the bed, laying down next to him, sensing something was wrong. Sam's vision would clear up, feeling the cat rub up against him as he looked down at the cat, placing his hand gently on the cat's head, petting them slowly as he looked back up at the ceiling, releasing a breath that he didn't know he was holding, tired after everything that occurred that day. Ooh, that was a doozy. How many words was this? I'm curious. $3,400. Jeez. Well, I'm sure that probably saved. Oh well. Alright. I'm glad I didn't read that last night. We already read that. Might as well do these two as well. We have a thing from Strawberry. Oh my gosh, it's my music. I should read the context for this. Blueberry finally decides it's time to check out why she feels such a strong presence at the pit. Blueberry and Strawberry reuniting. She's back! My gosh, outfit change? It's like Sailor Moon. Oh my gosh, butterfly? Her hair that she... Did you know that Strawberry's lore, part of her lore is that she licks people's hair to steal it? That's where her hair comes from. Aww. Oh, my heart. Oh, it's so cute. Oh my gosh, there's two more, boy.
I'm just the nurse, so I'm not allowed to tell you anything, but the doctor will be in just a moment, okay? Hang in there.
Timmy. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I love tour. Fireball. Okay. Some normal day activities. Something tells me it's not gonna be very normal. Sinithra woke up to the smell of something cooking. For a moment, they didn't remember where they were. The bed was too soft, the blankets too warm, everything unfamiliar. Then it came back. Lux. The tavern. Being found. They sat up slowly, rubbing their blurry eyes, even though it never helped. The room was still out of focus, shapes and colors bleeding into each other like a watercolor painting left in the rain. You're awake! Lux's voice came from somewhere to the left. I made breakfast. Nothing fancy, just eggs and toast. Hope that's okay. Sinithra's stomach answered before they could, rumbling loudly. They felt their face grow warm with embarrassment, but Lux just laughed. Not mean, but kind. The sort of laugh that made Sinithra feel like maybe it was okay to be hungry. Okay to be small and need help. Come on, let's eat before it gets cold. The kitchen table was small, just big enough for two people. Sinithra climbed into a chair that was slightly too tall for them, their feet dangling above the floor. Lux set a plate in front of them, a blurry yellow and brown shape that smelled absolutely wonderful. They ate quickly, almost desperately, shoveling food into their mouth faster than they probably should. Lux didn't comment on it, just quietly ate their own breakfast and occasionally refilled Sinithra's glass of water. So, Lux said after a while, their voice careful and gentle, what do you want to do today? Sinithra paused mid-bite, surprised. No one had asked them what they wanted in a long time. I don't know. Well, I need to run some errands, grocery shopping, that sort of thing. You could come with me if you want. Or we could stay here and you could rest more, whatever you prefer. The child thought about it. The idea of going outside again made them nervous. What if they ran into trouble? What if Ambush tried to take control again? But staying here alone also felt scary, even if Lux's home felt safer than anywhere they'd been in weeks. I'll come with you, Sinithra said quietly. I don't want to be alone. Lux's expression softened, though Sinithra could only see the blur of it. Okay, Sinithra. We'll go together. The marketplace was overwhelming in the way everything always was for Sinithra. Too many sounds and too many smells. But Lux walked slowly, keeping pace with their smaller steps, and kept a gentle hand on their shoulder so they wouldn't get separated in the crowd. What kind of food do you like? Lux asked as they browsed the produce section, picking up various fruits and vegetables that Sinithra couldn't quite make out. I don't know. I haven't tried a lot of things. Lux paused at that, and seemed to make a decision. Well, then we'll have to fix that. How about we try something new for dinner tonight? You can help me pick. They spent almost an hour in the marketplace, with Lux patiently describing different foods and letting Sinithra touch and smell things to get a sense of them. The child picked out something that Lux called a bell pepper, because it felt smooth and cool in their hands, and some potatoes because they liked the earthy smell. Good choices, Lux said warmly. We can make stuffed peppers tonight. I think you'll like them. Back at Lux's home, the afternoon passed quietly. Lux worked on some paperwork at the kitchen table while Sinithra sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that was soft and didn't scratch like the hospital one. They weren't doing much of anything, just sitting and listening to the peaceful sounds of someone else existing nearby, the scratch of a pen on paper, the occasional sip of tea, the creak of a chair. It was nice. Normal. The kind of normal Sinithra that they had never really experienced before. Hey, Sinithra, Lux called after a while. Want to help me with dinner? The child perked up, sliding off the couch and padding into the kitchen. Lux guided them through the process, washing vegetables, mixing rice, stirring the filling. They let Sinithra do the easy tasks, never making them feel useless or in the way. You're a good helper, Lux said as they worked together. And Sinithra felt something warm bloom in their chest. Pride, maybe. Or just happiness at being wanted. Dinner was delicious. The peppers were soft and savory, the filling warm and comforting. Sinithra ate 2 whole peppers, their belly finally feeling properly full for the first time in days. After dinner, Lux washed dishes while Sinithra dried them, standing on a small stool to reach the counter. It was such a simple domestic task, but it made Sinithra feel like they belonged somewhere. like they were part of something. Can I ask you something? Zenithra said quietly as they dried a plate. Of course. Why are you being so nice to me? Lux was quiet for a moment, their hands stilling in the soapy water. Because you deserve kindness, Zenithra. Every kid does. And because I can tell you haven't had enough of it lately. Zenithra didn't know what to say to that. Their throat felt tight, their eyes stinging in a way that had nothing to do with their blurry vision. Thank you, they whispered. You're welcome, Zenithra. That night, tucked into the soft bed with warm blankets and a full stomach, Zenithra felt something they hadn't felt in a very long time. Safe. From somewhere deep inside their mind, this music is way too crazy for what's going on right now. They could feel ambush lurking, waiting. But for now, for this one normal day, they could just be a kid. Just be Zenithra. And that was enough. Oh. The one adult in Zenithra's life that has actually been, like, good and helpful. Yeah, I hate ambush with every fiber of my being. Truffle tries, but just fails. Truffle and Freya have a lot in common. Freya tries, but just doesn't know how, and doesn't know how to ask for help, and needs help, and is really bad at what she does. Truffle is the same. Truffle and Freya, that's probably why Truffle hates Freya. Some sort of projection going on here. Who is someone weird and why do you hate me? It's rando. Alright, do we have any lore sheets? I think we already read this. Didn't we? Maybe not. Light Aurora's age 2200. Ever since her revival, Light has been able to stand someone touching her. She has new scars from where the explosion had caught her. She's mostly mute now, speaking only to those she trusts, and even then she might occasionally be unable to talk to them too. She isn't able to go anywhere near the Keepers of Solace area alone. She still forces herself to go since she still intends to work at the hospital. Ever since she had learned that Belios was missing, she had been unable to bring herself to return to the Moontouch Kingdom. Besides Waters, Belios was the only other person that helped her feel safe. Now that he is gone and Zephyr is in charge, she is unable to make herself go back. She's been staying at SUNC. She's now constantly cold, so she bundles herself up against the chill. She still scuba dives to take pictures of sea life, but she'll sometimes zone out on a piece of rock for hours. Waters often finds her surrounded by sea life that just comes up to her during this time as if they were comforting her. Her hair is now permanently white. She works at the hospital, but on far shorter hours. Good! No longer believes that Freya will change for the better and simply wants a more responsible leader now. On some level, she hates Freya for listening to them during the faction meeting the day before and still doing the bare minimum to protect them. Light can no longer stand loud sounds. She freezes up when she hears a loud sound. She developed a smell to communicate through simple images and words. It's quicker than writing anything down since it activates alongside gestures she makes. She chirps whenever she is sleepy, startled, happy, excited, or sometimes just randomly out of nowhere. It takes her a minute to realize that she chirped and is embarrassed every time. The scars from the explosion have a constant ache to them. Light tries not to let them bother her too much. She gets sleepy more often, and she can and will sleep anywhere. She's thinking about leaving the Keepers of Solace entirely and creating her own clinic system if there aren't real changes made. She likely never will, but it is a thought. Yo! Closed feather gun for her. This is so cool! Your art is so good. Clothes Light made for herself. The yellow and red flowers represent Croy and Kron, respectively. Aww. Feather is one of feathers she had given Light. She made it into a charm she wears. The blue of her clothes represent Waters. The red to purple represents Belios. The green belt and bow represent Frog. Aww. She wears the bracelet form of Belios' wolf mask, the one he died with when he was executed. She sometimes changes it back to its original shape to use in an attempt to have her magic find her brother, across the planet and out as far into the universe as she can manage it. So far, she hasn't had any luck finding anything. Fire! Absolute fire. Alright, I think we are good. Nice, so about an hour. Truffle sees the character flaw they hate most in Freya, that's why they hate her. Truffle picks up those extra shifts. I'm proud of them. Alright. If you are in Virgil's writing course, please make sure to start working on your thing, turn in before tomorrow night. So he can actually give you feedback. He's been telling me about all this great stuff you guys have been writing. Excited to see it when it all gets worked on. It is due tomorrow. It's not that hard. You don't have to write too much. I think I wrote maybe like 200 words at most. If you need help, ask Virgil. You could ask me if Virgil's too scary, although he's not. He gives good advice. He will give you, like, what you need to hear, though. I'm more of a, well, it's not that bad. And Virgil was like, okay, I can't... I'm trying to think of the right word that it doesn't sound like a weird euphemism. What's, like, a word for, like, he was really telling me that, it needed work. It was not good. And I needed to hear it. It was good. He is a good critic. It's true. He's not scary, though. Alright. I will see you all next Tuesday. Bye-bye.